But moving on now, the Royal Surrey County Hospital charity has launched a £500,000 campaign to redevelop the hospital's special care baby unit, which would allow parents with premature or sick babies to stay overnight on the unit. Every year, 100,000 babies are cared for in the neonatal units in the UK. And Sadie Elford from Hazelmere gave birth to a premature daughter, Sienna, in February, and also spent time in the special care baby unit at the hospital and is supporting the campaign. Sadie, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
How is Sienna?
She is doing amazingly well. At last weigh-in, she is now 10.5 pounds, which is amazing because she was born at a very tiny £3.15. So she did have to spend a little bit of time, as you said, in the special care baby unit. But she's doing really, really well now.
Well, that's brilliant to hear. How early was she then?
She was 5 weeks early, and I was admitted into the Royal Surrey. I had a horrible thing called preeclampsia, which basically means that your blood pressure goes a bit berserk, went a bit sky high. Everything went a little bit scary. So she was born. They decided to get her out by emergency C-section because she basically just wasn't growing. My placenta had stopped working, so they decided it was safer to get her out, but that did mean, of course, that she was very, very little and did need that extra care for that time during the care unit.
At just £3 15 ounces.
Yeah,
So give us an idea of the size of her when she was given to you. What did you think?
Well, you literally could hold her in your hands. That's how tiny she was. I remember looking at her and thinking, no, she's too tiny. She needs to go back in and do a bit more cooking. She's not ready to come out yet.
Oh, God, I can't even imagine the emotions you were feeling.
No, she was too tiny. When she was handed to us, we were only allowed a very, very quick cuddle before she was whisked off in an incubator. So, yeah, it was all a bit scary and a bit terrifying. So, yeah.
And I don't know how long she was in the special care baby unit for, but in that time, is there a lot of coming and going for you then at that time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously because I'd had a C-section, I was there for about 5 days after she was born because I was recovering. But, I mean, the special care baby unit at the Royal Surrey is absolutely amazing. All the nurses and volunteers that work there are just truly brilliant people. But the only thing that is missing is the fact that as a mum, you can't stay with your baby overnight. So for me, that was so hard. You know, you've just given birth to this tiny little miracle that you want to be with every second of the day. And you were sent home, obviously I was sent home after 5 days. And also you don't stay with them overnight. So you go back to the delivery ward. So you've got all the people, all the mums with their sort of normal sized babies and they're crying all night. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, is Sienna crying for me? And I'm not there for her. Does she feel abandoned? And then when we had to go home after 5 days and leave her there, I mean, that was horrendous. It was like I'd left a piece of my heart behind in that hospital. So this campaign, it's so important. And so anything that, I can do to raise awareness about it or raise money towards it is so important.
Well, what you said has got me going this morning, Sadie. I mean, I suppose the reality is, if you look at the cold, stark reality, what help could you be to Sienna because she's in the best place with the best people who know how to look after her best for the condition that she's in when she's very premature like that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But the real life, the emotional side of it says, of course, you want to be just a moment away from her. You want to be close by. So I think everybody listening can understand why you wouldn't want to have to go home while she's there.
Exactly. Yeah. As a mum, any mum will know. That's your baby. You're the one who's best suited to look after them, and you have to trust the nurses. And of course, they know what they're doing, but that doesn't stop you from wanting to be there with them.
Okay, and so it's a £500,000 campaign, and so the accommodation unit then for parents, would that be sort of really close by in the same building? Tell us what it would be like. What's the plan?
I think what they want to do is completely redo the special care baby unit so that actually beds are next to the cots. So it would be exactly the same as if you've given birth to your baby and you just went back to the delivery suite. So you could be right there, right next to your baby, day and night, looking after them, caring for them, and you don't have to be separated.
Sure. Can I ask, because actually that kind of doubles the number of, if you like, patients on the wards, doesn't it? Does that might that interfere with the kind of smooth running of the place, and complete take a little bit of the focus off the babies? I know it's so important for you to be there. I'm just asking that question. I'm just wondering.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think the special care baby unit is run so well at the moment, and it doesn't feel clinical. It feels nice. It feels friendly. It's like a little family in there. Anything that they can do to enhance that is surely only a good thing.
Sure. And I mean, in your case with Sienna, would you have been able to have been of use? I mean, obviously, it's lovely for you to be there, and if she can hear your voice again, that
Yeah.
in some way maybe helps. But could you be of practical use there, or is this really about the kind of emotional connection for you and for her?
I think, thinking back to our time when we were in there, she very much responded to both me and my husband Rob's voices, knew
Right.
when we were there. I think it's natural instinct in those early days to kind of know, oh, that's mummy or that's daddy. And also the nurses in special care, they don't sort of take over. They very much sort of say, you change the nappies or you do the feeds if you can do. So you're very much involved, which obviously is great. It's not like you're completely sort of on the sidelines and they could take over unless they're, super poorly. So, yeah, I think if you're there right next to them, that's only going to improve the care. And hopefully, no one wants to be in special care for too long. So ultimately, the goal is to get them out as quickly as possible and get home and start enjoying it.
How quickly will she catch up to the way sort of she should be?
Good question. I mean, she's gone from strength to strength since we came out. She's a proper little fighter. As I said, she's 10.5 pounds now. In terms of development, there's no sort of difference because she's premature. She's kind of hitting all the milestones that she should. And it's great because when I see people in the street and they sort of say, oh my gosh, you've got a tiny baby, everyone has, or a lot of people have their own success stories. So a lot of people, will say, oh, I had a son in special care, he's now a strapping 21-year-old. So they don't take long to catch up. As soon as they're feeding properly, as long as they're not too poorly, what we've seen with Sienna is that, she's still a little bit little and she'll probably always be on the petite side, but it hasn't taken her long to catch up.
Oh, listen, I'm glad she's doing well, and thanks for chatting to us and your support for the campaign. I'll give out some details on it in a second. Thanks, Sadie.
No worries, thank you.
All the best to you and the family. Sadie Elford and Hazel me there. And Morgan